don't want to put you through an entire interview of doing this with delay. I guess we could try to reschedule this for you. I don't want to have everybody have trouble hearing you and telling your story with this on top of you. Would you be up for? Would you be up for coming back on another show?
Yeah, definitely. We should sort this out and start fresh because I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah, same here. And I don't want to put the audience through more teching live here. So I'm going to continue with the chat here, and we're just going to wing out a show today and make kind of a quicker audience participation show. But I'm going to pull you out of the chat. I'm going to thank you today for coming and spending some time in an unproductive session, but I still appreciate your time.
No problem. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Justin. And we will have him back shortly when we can reschedule this and test everything beforehand. So thank you, Justin. All right, chat. It's just you and me now. So anyway, I had a whole show today based around interviewing Justin. I had a whole bunch of cool questions. I was going to talk about his workflow compared to the way I do workflow, because I know for a fact that Justin is kind of a hybrid guy. I am a in-the-box guy. So let's save our little time. Since you're already tuned in, let's throw out some topics, guys. And I see some people on Instagram saying, where would you try to do an Instagram live where he can join? Yeah, we'd love to do that too. Yeah, no, I know, Seth. Justin is great, and we will have him back. Let's see. Yeah, Salad Days. We got some nice comments about Justin. Justin's a great guy. He is a WaveLab wizard. He does a bunch of, I'll give him some plugs right now. He does a whole series with Steinberg on WaveLab, which is the mastering DAW of choice of most people now. And so you should definitely go check out his WaveLab seminars that he does for Steinberg on YouTube. Yeah, he's a great guy, great mastering engineer. I want to ask him a bunch of questions, but unfortunately I'm having some audio problems. So anyway, chat, what do you want to talk about today? We can't talk about Justin with him gone too long, so I will have him back, I promise. And next week, we've got Dangerous Audio. Marek Star, I can't say Marek's name, but the president of Dangerous Music, Marek, it's Marek, that's right, is going to be here next week talking about some of the new Dangerous Music plugins. So that will be a good show. So Justin won't be back next week, but I will hopefully have him after that. So I can tell you about WaveLab too. Yeah, you can definitely ask a DAC question, Salad Days. What's the question? Hey, Chad, what's the question? What would you say is the distinct difference between mixing and mastering? That's a really basic question here, Relmade. That's on Instagram. I mean, they're totally different things. Mixing is dealing with separate issues, separate pieces, tracks, making them one coherent thing. Mastering has nothing to do with that. Mastering is a 10,000-foot view, a polish of the entire project. So mastering engineers listen in a very different way. Someone was asking on Instagram if these are MM100s, and indeed they are. They are not what I use for mastering. I do like them, but I don't like them enough that I would use them for mastering. Somebody was asking also on YouTube, MM500 or 520. So these are not the 500 series. These are the 100s. I do also have my handy 5s here. And I've also got some 4s, but if you're asking between the MM500 or a 520, 520 definitely. All right, we got some more questions here. So what is the best filter for monitoring? Minimum phase or linear phase? One has pre-ring, one does not. Thoughts? So most mastering applications, I end up using linear phase. I find it to be more accurate for most things, but occasionally, depending on the EQ or whatever I'm working with that has different phase options, sometimes minimal phase can sound better. So there's no hard rule on that. You can use whatever works best on that project, but for most mastering things, I end up using linear phase. Let's see, what else we got here? I'm sure you said it before, but what do you use to EQ your cans from 313 mastering on Instagram? I don't use any EQ on my headphones. I've said this many times. I will say it again. I don't like processing on my headphones. I don't like crosstalk. I don't like corrective EQ. I don't like room simulations. I like a wire plugged into a really good amp and DAC, and that's it. So, and that's also covering Seth's question here. I know you don't like crossfeed. And again, no, I don't like any of the aftermarket processing here. So let's see. Here's another one from Daniel. What made you choose Chord, DAC, amp, or just DAC? Isn't the latency too high bothering you? No, it's not bothering me in the slightest. I like Chord stuff because they make some really great handmade, hand-assembled products in the UK. And I've actually been to their factory. I went there a couple of months ago. And if you see how meticulous they are about building stuff, you would also want a Chord product. Their stuff is just, even their chips, like most people just buy off-the-rack Burr Brown chips for their DACs. They design all their stuff in-house. So it's really incredibly well thought out and really fantastic stuff. So, and as far as latency, for mastering, latency is not that critical like it is for recording. And it's, not a problem for me. So, and speaking of Chord, how do you like the Chord Alto? I recall you got that in recently. I've been using one for over a year and love it, from DeWaldo Music. DeWaldo, I think the Chord Alto is a excellent piece of kit. For those who don't know what it is a small, like half rack piece that is a power amp, a headphone amp, and a preamp, basically. And it'll let you kind of switch between like a small set of speakers and a headphone setup. It's got a super clean headphone amp in there, probably better than what's in my Dave, believe it or not. So it's a really great piece of kit. It's not cheap, I'm just kind of warning you, but none of the Chord stuff is cheap. So let's see who else we got here. And today, guys, we are winging it. We are also every week, I want to encourage you guys to like get in the mix here. Just kind of like, this is the only time you're going to get like an industry pro to just kind of at will answer questions. So make use of it. When I was coming up, I couldn't like zing to Bob Ludwig and go, "Hey Bob, what's your favorite EQ?" So you get that now, and you get a big leg up because of that, I think. So take advantage of it. You were going to have 2 engineers to pick from, but unfortunately, we had to kill one of us. Here's another one. Hi, Glenn. Have you mastered a mix made by somebody mixing only on headphones? From Wheelock 2. Yes, Wheelock. I have done many mixes from mix engineers that only use headphones. And you'll find guys like Manny American, who designed that MM500 headphone, not designed it, but helped tune it. Leslie Braithwaite, what's another famous headphone guy? Come on, I'm just blanking out his name. And I know the guy too. Tall guy with a beard, long hair. He did Chili Peppers and a bunch of other good records. Andrew Sheps. Andrew Sheps also mixes tons of stuff on headphones, and actually quite a few mixing engineers do. So yes, everyone who masters is working on mixes that were done on headphones. Yeah, salad days. It was Andrew. I couldn't think for a second. Andrew's a really good guy too. So let's see here. Seth says, just starting out, how soon should I dive into learning RX or similar? So RX is a great tool. It's for fixing problems mostly. So if you're dealing with a lot of tracks that have problems, it's a great tool. Do you need it on a day-to-day mastering schedule? Is it part of my day-to-day workflow? For me, no. I take it out when I need to declick something sometimes, or if there's like some kind of really small techie thing that needs to get like a spotted distortion or something like that. It's great. I would say you don't really need it to start with. I think it's a good adjunct after. All right, here we got from Daniel. How long does it take you to master a single typically? Do you charge per project or time it takes, or how difficult it's going to be? Difficulty usually has nothing to do with it. So I would say I normally charge like flat fees for singles. I'm not going to talk about that price, but I have an independent rate and a label rate. And typically a single, if it's really well recorded, can go pretty quickly, like 20 minutes. If it's something that wasn't recorded well, I could spend an hour or more on it. But it really depends on what they're handing me. So, and here we have something from Baron. Hi, Glenn. Are you able to sniff out a headphone mix or master due to certain choices being made in the process? Like, take a sip of my tea. So this is I'm going to say for the most part, no, with a caveat here. So I had a regular customer here in Iceland, and he does really great mixes. And I noticed all of a sudden his mixes started having some weird stereo issue going on. And like the balance of the stereo field was just out of whack. And I said, hey, are you doing something different on your mixes now? And he said, no, I'm doing everything the same, except I'm using these Sony 7506 headphones to mix on now. And I went, oh. So if you don't know, those are notorious for not reproducing stereo in a balanced manner. And they really don't work well, I think, for mixing or mastering. They're great tracking headphones, but so in that case, I was able to immediately nail there was something going on that was wrong. But for the most part, if somebody knows what they're doing and they have a decent set of headphones, no, I wouldn't be able to tell. Let's see. Here's some more questions. Brian on Instagram says, do you export all of your client masters using some kind of batch export? I use Wavelab's batch export, and that works just dandy. All right, here's another one. And thanks for everybody sticking through tonight. I know it wasn't the easiest to watch us deal with echoes all night. So Elliot says, what's your opinion on ozone? Seems like it has so many features that end up getting overused. Ozone to me is, okay. I don't know a lot of professional mastering engineers that want to work in that environment. It's not that it's just kind of like a prefab environment whereas something like Wavelab or some other programs are just much more open, and you can work outside of that environment much more easily, use your own metering and all types of stuff. I think, Ozone is fine. It's a good product. Nothing wrong with it, but most professional mastering do not use that. Christian says, are you still using the LCD5 or have you switched to the 5S? I am using the 5S, and the S was a very nice improvement. And if you have a 5, I mean, I don't know if you can sell them and get, decent amount back and upgrade. That's fine. If you can't, I don't think it's worth probably spending all that money for upgrading if you already have a 5 and if you're happy with it. But the 5S is definitely a nice upgrade, and they did a really good job with it. All right, Salad Diz, do you have a working level you stick to on your headphones? What is it? No, actually, I don't. I'm a feel guy. Obviously, you found out tonight I'm not the most technical person that ever lived, as I couldn't figure out how to get rid of the echo on our guest feeds tonight. But I know enough to be a little dangerous. And for me, I'm a feel guy. So I play headphone levels mostly at a comfortable level for me. And I don't know exactly what, dB level that's at. But and then I also check things at louder and softer levels for certain things like bass or high frequency, because they come across differently at different levels. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's look back at the Instagrammers. 313 says, when is the masterclass coming? Honestly, never. I'm not an academic. I've said this before. I don't want to give boring tutorials as much as some people want them. And, it's just not my gig. I've taught at a couple of colleges a couple times. And you want to talk about a snooze fest? That's a snooze fest. So no thanks. I like talking to you folks. That's just dandy with me. All right. Firehouse says the NL1 is updated beta to TP. What is the NL1? Firehouse Music, you have to tell me what an NL1 is. I'm not sure. Oh, and we got a comment from Justin here. Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you, Justin, again for coming on, and I apologize for whatever problems we had tonight. Everybody does want to hear from you, apparently, so it's definitely on the cards for another night. Ah, you're talking about the natural limiter. Okay, so yeah, they do have a True Peak update, and yeah, it's supposedly much, much better. I haven't really used it because I don't really see any big advantage of True Peak for me. And for whatever it's worth, True Peak's never really been an issue. And I'll check it out at some point, but I don't really need True Peak, so. And let's see. What else? Here's another one. Daniel asks, do you have any go-to way, of clearing the low end, especially below 30 hertz or so, to get better translation in your headroom? I find high-pass filters increase the peak levels in resonance sometimes. Any EQ, whether it's gain or boost, can cause your levels to jump. So, you have to keep that in mind with your gain staging. So I can use, I don't normally use high-pass filters for stuff like that. I'll use like light shelves. I'll use bells sometimes. Things like next week, we're going to be talking about the back CQ, and they actually have some really nice stuff for things like that. So tune in next week, and we'll have the guy from Dangerous, the president, talking about backs. Let's see. What else we got here tonight? What's up, folks? I appreciate everybody sticking in for some questions after. I didn't want to totally abort this show tonight. I was looking forward to talking to everybody. And I'm just looking at the comments here. Justin and I actually worked together on a band called Jellyfish, who is they're really like a cult band, like a rock band from the 90s. They were kind of like the new Beatles. Everybody who was in the business loved them. And they did have 2 incredible albums, and then they disappeared off the face of the earth. And I think Justin remastered some stuff, and I did a box set for them with their front of house sound guy. And yeah, great band. So check them out. Any other questions? Any questions for the one guy left here? We would have had 2. Yeah, Jellyfish is a cool band, I will have to say. It's one of those underappreciated bands like them and XTC, I think. That would be the English counterpart. I know you don't do the programs emulations, but I got a guy that says the Slate Audition Odyssey emulation is spot on. Oh, you're talking about the VSX. Okay, sorry, Firehouse. I was trying to translate your comment here. I haven't heard the VSX setup. You know, if Slate wants to send me one to check out, I'm happy to check it out. But I don't really need an Odyssey emulation. I've got Odyssey here, so why would you want a fake version when you got the real thing right in front of you here? And even if they did an Odyssey emulation, you know, the thing is that you have to remember, all right, we're talking like the backseat cue from Dangerous. So I was talking to the president of Dangerous, and I said, didn't Plugin Alliance already put out this thing? And he said, yeah, but they didn't use ARC converters and things like that with it. So even that, one version sounds quite different than the other of the exact same EQ for the same plugin. Well, actually different plugins, but the same piece they're emulating. So I was quite shocked today when I heard the difference. All right. Sally Day says the Odyssey emulation on the Slate immersion isn't the gem. It's the human linear when you bypass the rooms. I have no idea what that means because I don't use VSX. Doug in Instagram says, do you totally comfortable mastering on headphones? I think, do you mean if I am comfortable on headphones? Yes, I am comfortable on headphones. I've been mastering on headphones since 2018 and do pretty much everything on them, but I do have some lovely speakers here too, which I do occasionally use from Mon Acoustics in Korea. Shout out to Mon Acoustics. Okay, anybody else here? I really need a tissue. Hang on one, guys. I was taking some allergy medicine, and I forgot to take it today, so it's kicking in. So you're here, Rosso. Yes. Yo está aquí también. Don't try to make me speak Spanish. I'm going to be, my Chinese and Spanish are pretty bad. Anybody else tonight? You got a little more time left if you want to like hit a couple more questions. Up to you guys. Anybody else? Anybody on the Instagrams? Firehouse. we got a couple of people here that just bust out questions all the time. So thank you guys that are my regulars for coming and asking all this stuff. I appreciate it. What's the most common issue on mixes that gets sent to you? I would say number one is distortion. I actually did a whole episode about this. So Firehouse, go back in the YouTube playlist and find out all that stuff. But just to recap, it was distortion, usually from either bad handling of bass or being too loud, bad stereo imaging, either too much or too little, poor source recordings. There's all kinds of issues that happen on mixes, but they're all pretty common. And, we do actually, more than not, I send mixes back to clients because they're wasting their money on mastering something that doesn't sound good. Seth says, as someone starting out, any recommendations on building a client base? Yes, I do actually have recommendations for that. So one of the things that helped me the most starting out was attaching myself to kind of up-and-coming people, like artists. And if you attach yourself either working for cheap or free or whatever it is to start with, to people that you genuinely think are talented and have the ability to kind of rise above the fray, that is the best way to do your own promotion, because as they rise, so does you. What's the parable? A high tide lifts all boats. So yeah, it's basically, if you attach yourself to up and coming artists, when they hit, you're part of the scene at that point. So that's what I would do. Daniel again, how do you deal with your vision versus client vision when you feel they don't hear music correctly or you disagree with their vision? So that's kind of a tricky thing. So I've had a few clients along the way where I respected their vision, and sometimes I have to just kind of turn off my creative juice and try to deliver for them what they want. But if it goes against the grain of everything I believe is right, I will probably say this is not the right mastering engineer for your job, and send them on their way. So, there's no point in having two people without the same artistic vision on the same path. Just there's other people. Salad Days, do you ever miss the way you can push on analog gear into an A to D converter coming back in now that you've been in the box for a long time? Any plugins take that place for you? I don't really miss anything on analog except for having like a nice background for my social media. Even back then, I had like all this crazy amount of gear and beautiful rooms and all that. And I didn't have social media then. And that's what 90% of what people use their analog gear for nowadays, unfortunately. But I don't really miss any of that stuff. And you can do much better job with some of the great saturation that's available now. You don't need necessarily an ADD converter just by itself. Analog to digital conversion is a damaging process. It doesn't make anything sound better. So no, I don't miss any of that stuff. And the only thing I miss is having like a physical knob sometimes. So that's it. Yeah, I got a comment here. You can buy a bunch of broken gear for decoration. I have a bunch of stuff in the rack there. And then in Atlanta, at my office, they have like a closet full of a bunch of old gear from my place, but it's not worth shipping to Iceland. So. Brian in Instagram asks, have you ever used a control surface in your workflow in the mastering stage? No, Brian, I actually have not, although I have looked into it. Steinberg had some kind of little control surface that supposedly could, give you a couple of knobs or, faders to kind of give you more tactile things. But honestly, I've found just kind of changing up different mice and making myself a couple shortcuts kind of fix whatever issues I might have from that. So no control surface I found yet that really kind of made me go, I need that. Although I did see today somebody's putting out an expression pedal for guitar that can control MIDI. So technically I could probably like do fades with my foot on Wavelab by assigning something on the MIDI on there. So that could be interesting. But as far as yet, no. I think Justin's probably watching right now. So he says, when Justin comes back on, could you two maybe discuss why he goes the route of a lot of analog gear and how often he's actually using it on his masters? Yes, Salad Days. That was one of my questions I have. I think, unless I'm wrong, he works hybrid most of the time, which means it's partial analog and partial dig in the box. So, yeah, I was going to talk about that and just how different our workflows are. We both have similar philosophies as far as final product, but we go about it very different ways. So I thought that would be kind of interesting. Yeah, he does have a lot of cool stuff in his studio, and yeah, you can ask him all about it when he comes back. So, anybody else? Anybody on the Instagrams? We got a bunch of people there. Hey, Al. Anybody else tonight? Or are we going to call it an early night tonight? Any other questions? I'm giving you a last chance, folks. Anybody else? Here we go. Another one from Brian on Instagram. What are your thoughts on phase rotation? Are you talking about doing it after the fact? Like with RX or something like that? Most of the time it will screw up something pretty bad. So you better kind of know. Oh, Justin is answering from before. But yeah, it can screw up a project really badly, phase rotation. So here's from Justin answering your question from earlier. He's still trying his best from remote here. I should have a picture of him up right now. So Justin says, yes, some projects are all digital in the box, and some are hybrid with digital before analog. Some are analog for broad strokes colored and followed by a digital limiter. So there you go. Thank you, Justin. Any specific tests you would do for translation outside of the headphones? Honestly, I don't need to do that for myself because I know my setup so well, and I've been doing this for so long. I know immediately as soon as I take these off, everything's good. So I don't need to do that, and that comes with experience more than anything else. And we got a thanks, Justin. He'll save his questions for when he comes back. Kind of intrigued by the focusing on upcoming artists, says Daniel. Would you look up for them online or go meet them in person? I'll tell you with myself, I have gone in person and like tapped somebody on the shoulder and said, "You're amazing. I'd like to work with you." And I found quite good reception for that. So yeah, go to their show and wait for them to step off stage and have a little conversation. It's it's a slow road into the music business. So I don't think I got like any kind of major credits for more than 10 years after I started. So, and another thing for Justin, if you're still on there. So Justin deals with headroom, but it's not in the box but in the box, not a big issue. I don't know if Justin wants to take that or not, but, or we can just wait for him to come back. But anyway, in the box is not an issue for anybody. So You gave advice on processing the mix EQ before turning on the limiter during mastering, but doesn't the limiter change the tonal balance? Anything in a mastering chain changes the tonal balance. It is a constant, balancing act. So, I wouldn't say that limiters change the tonal balance in any major way. It's pretty minor. But anything you move along the way or change gain of will affect your overall, final product. So it's a juggling act. That's what we do. Anybody else? Thank you for the question, though, Matt. All right. I think we got everybody tonight. Oh, somebody asked again about linear versus minimum phase. I did actually answer that earlier, Mike, but I use linear phase for most mastering things, but occasionally minimum phase sounds good on something. Salad says, I master mainly on headphone despite having big speaker mains, as do I. When you listen for pleasure, are you still using your LCD 5s? No, actually, when I'm listening for pleasure, I'm probably in my car listening to my really shitty Suzuki stereo on my Jimny. And it's I don't really care about the fidelity coming back when I'm listening for pleasure because the technical side of my brain just turns off and I go, oh, music, cool. So I can listen on a phone speaker. I can listen in my car. I don't care about having like a super hi-fi. Firehouse, don't worry about your typing. So when hybrid headroom is key, when in the box does it still matters? I don't really understand the question here. Sorry, Firehouse. I'm going to take you back off. All right, let's see. Do you have any interesting non-typical techniques unique to you haven't seen covered in YouTube's? All the secrets are appreciated. I probably do a couple things that other people don't do, I would guess, but and some things I found other people do over the years. I'm self-taught. I didn't have anybody I studied under. I made mistakes for a lot of years. I did things wrong for a lot of years. I probably do have some stuff, but I'm not giving away all the secrets tonight. Hey, Glenn, from Eric, could you talk about your decision path to go with the Dave DAC? Are there any specifics you went with that versus other high-end DACs, RME, Prism, topping, etc.? I went with the Dave because of Chord's reputation at the time. I had used Chord amps for many years. Shout out to Tom at Chord and all the guys at Chord. But I had a long relationship with them for like 30-something years, and I knew they made great product, and they were, an accessible company that you could talk to somebody, and I really liked that. And I also used, products from Prism. Those guys are great too. I have an RME sitting somewhere here too as well, and I have some topping amps right down here too. All good products. I would use any of them. So I picked the Dave early because I liked it. I liked the layout. I thought it sounded great, and that's pretty much it. All right. Any other questions on the Instagrams? All right. From Matt, how does sequencing work? Is the mixing engineer job to figure out that, or do you suggest? Okay, so you're talking about sequencing an album. So first of all, that used to be a big deal, especially like when CDs were in the zeitgeist of everyone's music consumption. But now sequencing is not an issue because very few people put out CDs. So that's one, and most of it goes in a playlist and Spotify or wherever. So if you make weird crossfades or something, your tracks might start in a weird place. For vinyl, that also can be a problem. They can make spacing so you can see the tracks when you put your needle down, but it makes it more difficult. So for the most part, most people don't really spend a lot of time about sequence anymore. But back in the day, I used to do that with the artist and make suggestions. And speaking of old stuff, Seth asks, what percentage of your work would you say goes to CD or vinyl? I would say a good amount of it, maybe like 80 or 90% of it now goes to vinyl, which is, what I don't call it for music, it's merch. Vinyl is basically something to sell to a fan at a show. I know people listen to it. Some people listen to it, but it's merch. And CD, there was a tiny resurgence in CDs recently, but not really much of any. I've done only a few CD masters in the last year. I can count them probably on one hand. But vinyl, everybody does. Which sucks because I sold my vinyl lathe. I'm not cutting vinyl anymore. And even then, I sold it before the prices went up. Actually, now a vinyl lathe, like a Neumann lathe like I used to have, is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I don't even want to say what I sold mine for. So it'll make me cry. I don't want to cry. Anybody else? We're doing pretty good. We still got almost an hour tonight that we got in, even with the aborted show. Here's a question. What's typical numbers you leave the output for streaming platforms? -0, do you follow? Daniel, I don't give a shit about any streaming platform. I don't pay any attention to their specs that they hand out. Spotify's -14 or YouTube's -16 or whatever it is now. I just make the music sound good and appropriate volume for that genre of music. So Salad Days asks, when something goes to vinyl, do you typically work with another cutting engineer since you no longer have a lathe? Do you typically work with the same person? So, no, I don't have a specific cutting engineer. I know several of my friends in mastering houses still have some lathes. They do cut, but typically I don't pick that. It's the client who picks that. So, I have very little to do with the actual vinyl being made, although I will make a vinyl pre-master with the files laid out with paperwork to kind of support the tracks. So they can say, okay, track 6 was this song, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? Hope everybody's having a lovely Thursday here. Yeah, my advice for, vinyl is find yourself a good cutter. If you're trying to put it out for yourself, there's plenty of great guys out there. Anybody else have any questions for Glenn? Unfortunately, not for Justin tonight. That sucks. I was really hoping to have Justin too, but we don't. I'll have him back. Daniel's clarifying here. I didn't mean the volume. Yeah, I said, you don't care about. What I meant is distortion when conversion happens if no headroom is left. Oh, okay. I don't ever normally print something at 0 dB EFS. It could be anywhere from maybe -0.2 down to -1, depending on what's in the track. So that will vary, but no, I never print anything at 0 dB EFS. Do that answer your question, Daniel? Somebody's asking me on Instagram, do I use Simulathe for vinyl mastering? No, because I used to cut vinyl, so I'm very familiar with what happens when you cut vinyl. And since everybody has a different lathe setup, and also they cut differently, some people cut really, less aggressive than others, or have different cutting computers, which makes a big difference. Tea again. The cutting computers make a huge difference as far as how you can cut. The Simulate doesn't really account for any of that stuff. So no, I do not use Simulate, although it is a very cool program. Good question, Juan. Anyone else? I'm glad I answered your question, Daniel. Anyone else got anything? All right. I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon here. I'm going to let you get in some straggler questions if you got them. Shoot if you got them, yep. Or anything else you want to ask or talk about. And next week we are going to have Marek from Dangerous Music on, a company I've been doing business with for a long time, talking about his two most recent plugins, the new back CQ and their A to D clipper. Both really cool, interesting plugs. All right. I think we're going to wrap then. Guys, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Sorry for losing Justin, and I will have him back. He's a good egg. And, I think that, he's nice enough to have dealt with the technical problems tonight. So thank you, Justin. We do have one more question from Matt's here. How does the deluxe album version differ from a normal album in mastering? They just add extra songs. That's all it is. Oh, we got one from Phantom. You are the most comments of anyone here. So what's your thoughts on dithering and its importance when digital or streaming is a bigger part of delivery? Dithering is just to reach the final, bit rate and sample rate that you're going to. So it's always important to just do things properly. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. So I hear things that are dithered. I hear things sometimes that are just truncated. So, usually it doesn't make a huge difference. But thank you, Phantom. All right. I think we got it all tonight. Thank you again, guys. I'll be back next week. We will check out, audio and all that ahead of time. Make sure we have a good connection. And thank you all for tuning in. I will talk to you all next week.